your wedding, the celebration that you and your partner did just after COVID, was one of, was quite widely reported also in social media, in media. The first, I believe, queer wedding in the country.
Wanted to have a marriage, but then we've been tagged as a wedding, a queer wedding rather. It was not planned, it was not a movement, there was no agenda. We were scared. We are those common people that you will meet every day, maybe in the supermarket or in the metro or in the shopping mall.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Booked. I'm Anisha Mathur, and today we're talking about Surviving Loudly. This is a book by Supriyo Chakraborty, who was one of the lead petitioners in the marriage equality case in the Supreme Court. And I've read this book, and it's one of the bravest books about survival, about growing up queer in a society that does not accept queerness. And Supriyo, thank you for joining me on this edition of Booked. If I may start with the most obvious question, what made you write this book? Because it's about your journey, it's intensely personal, and it is very, very emotional. What made you write it down?
Thank you, Anisha. And I believe there are multiple events which kind of, I don't use the word trigger, but that kind of force me to think and write this book. The first one is, I would say, when, so I'm from a small town and moving towards a bigger city and fighting for the rights, going to the Supreme Court. One thing that I have learned in life, which is life is not about just winning the big fight. It's all about those small battles that we win in day-to-day basis. And so that I wanted to share the story to the whole world, number one. And secondly, again, for the kid who is sitting maybe in that small town and those dusty road and looking at the sky and thinking about that somebody can see him or her. So maybe for that kid, the story, because story is one of the very powerful mode where people can see hope. And so those are the different reasons that I thought of, started writing about it, and here is the Surviving Loudly today.
Okay. So the foreword of this book, written by Senior Advocate Saurav Kirpal, in fact, sums up sort of what you said. He says it's not just about queerness, but about a more universal humanity. It's a fight that is not just a legal battle, but a fight where conversations in living rooms and in classrooms can make a huge difference. If you can take us through your journey, because this book is about you growing up queer in a small town, then moving to a bigger city, your journey, your fights, you growing up as a queer person in a country which didn't quite allow it. If you could take us through some of the most important points that you've raised in your journey, in your book.
Sure. So, Anisha, I always say one thing, which is our journey is not to stand out of the crowd. It's always to get lost in the crowd. Because every time we look the world and somehow we feel we are always being alienated. So that is one of the most important factor that I wanted to show it in this book. In that note, I also wanted to say that when Surviving Loudly, it's just been a month. It's out, and the most of the feedback or the reviews that I got from the people, they are not from the community. And I think that's the real success of Surviving Loudly, because we all are surviving. Somebody is loudly, somebody quietly, and I think Saurav Kirpal wrote the same thing, that this is not only for the people from the community, because I think it's relatable for everybody who all are surviving in the world. Maybe at the home, maybe at the workplace, and the friends group. But what the story is Surviving Loudly, which we are motivating people to survive loudly, not quietly anymore.
So one point that you've made throughout this book is that you've been speaking to the trauma of a queer child who doesn't know what to do, who's growing up in an environment which doesn't give him the identity. You've talked about, not just your identity, but the larger picture of queer identity in India as well. Could you take us through some of the instances that you've mentioned in this book? I mean, One of the things that touched me, for example, was when you talked about being in school, having your first crush, then your first relationship, how things changed in that time period.
Well, I mean, when I talk about my school, it's many years back. And growing up in a small town and studying in a government school, quote unquote, and fully boys' school, it's not a co-education. The first thing as a queer child that we realized that I'm different, right? Because we don't, back then, so many years back, we never had those names that we look up to. We never had those stories. There was no surviving loudly back then. So it was very difficult to figure out that, to understand that I'm a little different. That is the first, the self-acceptance. Then moving to the next, that you, a queer kid, realize that there's something that you cannot just discuss with everybody. You know, you will be shamed. And the third part, that you cannot discuss this with your family, with your parents, and maybe you will be ashamed to the society. The major problem was there was not much enough story, because story, as I said already, that this is very strongest, one of the most strongest weapon. So it was, as a queer child in those situations, we feel lonely. We feel that I'm the only person in the whole world, and maybe I have to live a life which is not true enough. So that was our childhood, and I really wanted to say that as a queer child, we never had a childhood. It's more of, we just learned how to act. Maybe we are sleeping for 6 hours or 8 hours, rest 18 hours, 16 hours. We are just conscious that nobody should know what's going on, right? We always creating and wearing that mask in front of your friend circle, your relatives, your cousins, or on your bubble every time, that nobody should know what's going on in your mind. And this is not for a day, not for a week, it's for years to years. Pretending to be somebody else, which is definitely not easy. And if you ask my journey, of course, I have been through this part, but maybe it's my upbringing, or maybe it's me, that I always realize that I have one life, and why to compromise? Because I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not doing anything wrong. So let's live the life, the truest self possible.
So your wedding, the celebration that you and your partner did just after COVID, was one of, was quite widely reported also in social media, in media. The first, I believe, queer wedding in the country, even despite the fact that the court was not ready to give you the marriage rights just yet. And this is before the marriage equality judgment had also come, I believe.
Right.
So, and you've written about it in your book. Could you take us through a little bit of what happened then, and what you've written about your friends, about your colleagues, about what happened back then?
Well, right now, today, when we are talking about the marriage, we are quoting it as a wedding. I think here is the difference. We wanted to get married. It was a very selfish motive, because we wanted to be happy together. We wanted to call our own people and have a celebration, wanted to have a marriage. But then we've been tagged as a wedding, a queer wedding rather. So it started with the COVID, we both were COVID positive, and somehow we realized that life is too fragile. And if we wait for our judiciary system to give us the rights, maybe, I don't know how much time it will take. So we decided to call our people and let's get married. So that's how it started. And it was not planned, it was not a movement, there was no agenda. There was no agenda to, as you said, that it's widely reported. There was no agenda, something like that. But yes, we were scared. We are those common people that you will meet every day, maybe in the supermarket or in the metro or in the shopping mall. So we were scared. We really don't know how society gonna react to it. But still, at the same point again, we are not hurting anybody. We are not taking away anybody's rights. We just wanted to be happy together. Abhay is the most important person of my life, and I just wanted to call him my husband. So, not my friend. I want my mom to call him her, or introduce him to her son-in-law, not her son's friends or whatever. So that was the reason we did the celebration. We really enjoyed, and it was amazing. I'm sure you have seen the videos and all. And then somehow it touched, it's nudged a lot of people, and people started reporting, people started writing about it, and I think which is, in a way, it's a good thing, because story again give a lot of power. So yeah, that's how it is.
So you've also written about the people you've met in your journey so far, from your school to your college to your office to various places you worked at. Some of these people you've mentioned. What's been their response to this book? Have they read it? Have they seen it? Have they seen what you've written about them?
Yes, absolutely. Because when I started writing, I was little skeptical about shall I use their name or not. So I started reaching out people. And I wrote my manuscript and I sent those paragraphs to these people, and I was like, hey, I really want your name to be there, because it's easy to use a different name, but I wanted to make it as true as possible, because I think that's our journey. We always wanted to be authentic in our life. And I think I've been blessed with amazing people in my life. They're super happy, super proud, and yes, of course, they read the book, they gave a lot of reviews, and I think I'm very proud about them as well.
So one thing that you've mentioned, and it's a very powerful sentence that you've put in your book, and I believe it was your speech title as well, that I need your permission to get married. And that's something you've mentioned in your book also, and that which also prompted the entire marriage equality debate before the Supreme Court as well. How have you touched on that, if you can tell for our viewers? In your book, what have you talked about in your, not just the journey, but the case and the aftermath of the case?
Of course, there are a lot of reasons to get married, but for me, there are major 3 reasons. The first one is companionship, second one, the legal structure, and the third one is dignity. So we are in a situation where there's a lot of pat in our back that, hey, we can see you, but we can't help you. So I had problem with that part, because if you are supporting, you should acknowledge, you should stand next to me. So that's how it's all started. And that's why it's all about the marriage equality, because marriage equality case, because marriage gives a bundle of rights, which I think the heterosexual people always take it for granted. We never, so we don't have, so as I said, like Abhay is the most important person in my life, but in the eyes of law, we are strangers. We don't have rights like inheritance, we don't have rights, caregiving rights, we don't have rights like taxation, so and so forth. So it's always, and it's a day-to-day problem, Anisha. Sometimes we feel that we have been treated as a second-class citizen in this country. And coming out is not a one-day journey, it's a never-ending process. Till today, I need to, whenever I introduce my partner, Abhay, I can't say husband, right? At least if I say husband, I need to take a pause for 2 seconds. Shall I say husband or not? I have a problem with that, because that is somehow kind of not giving me enough dignity to living in this country. So that's how it's all started. And of course, I think we've spoken before about the marriage equality case and everything, though we lost it. But I think there are a lot of things which is positive things happening in this country. If I talk about the joint bank account, the Delhi High Court is hearing about the case which is for caregiving. Bombay High Court, again, they're talking about the taxation rights. Things are happening, bits and pieces, but of course my problem here is it's too slow. Of course, we learned that things will never happen overnight, but yes, it's too slow. I don't know, by the time we'll get everything, we'll still be alive. But yeah.
So you've also talked about the larger debate in the queer community in India about these rights, about the case in your book. And as I said, it is an intensely emotional and personal book that you've written. Can you take our viewers through a little bit of what happened when the hearing was going on, what happened after you lost the case, because you've gone into details of all that, not just in your life, emotionally, socially, but also in the larger community.
Well, when the case was there at the court, the hearing was happening, we were hopeful. And when we lost it, in a simple way, we were super, super disappointed. But again, I think I did mention that in my book that a lot of people called me, a lot of interviews that you lost it, but I always say one thing, that we have nothing to lose. What we gained, which is the conversation, what we gained, which is the story, what we gained, that we cracked open a surface, which was nobody can close it anymore, because we are part of the dinner table conversation now. The generation is watching us. They have stories now. The kid was sitting in the small town and hoping for a sunlight tomorrow. Now he has she has something to look forward to. I think that is the biggest change happened, and which was so required. We also learned another thing from this case. I mean, initially that we need everything together, we need everything overnight. But I think that is also a learning, because we also grow as a human, and we learned that things will happen, but it will take time. The change is not always even. Sometimes it's little ups and downs, and that's okay. Until unless we are moving forward, there is definitely a better tomorrow.
Okay. Let me bring this into a slightly more personal level now. The love story of Babai and Bharti that you've talked about in the book.
Right.
Tell us more.
So I call Abhay as Babai. It's a very cute name in any Bengali household. And my name is Supriyo Chakraborty, and Abhay can't pronounce Borti. So he always say, a typical Punjabi boy, he's like Bharti. So from there it's become Babai and Bharti, and that's how the name came. And I think we always complain to each other, you are not putting enough effort to give a better name. In fact, the last 2 weeks back, we were in Kolkata, and there was one shop, Abhay was buying something, and there was one kid came along with his mother, and apparently that kid's name is Babai. And Abhay just said, you didn't put any effort, I think everybody in Kolkata named Babai. So we still fight about it, but in a very cute way. I think that's how we are, because as I said, our journey is to get lost in the crowd. We are the people you will find in the day-to-day life, maybe in the metro, maybe in the shopping mall. So I think that's a very cute way, and I did mention that in my book, because this is very precious to to me. Yeah.
You've also talked about the effect that your fight, effect that the court case had on your students,
right,
on the children who may have been watching. Also, you've mentioned this one incident in your book about how people still try to gloss over what a queer relationship is. You talked about, pride parade and bride parade. If you can take us through, have things changed post the Supriyo case?
I wouldn't complain much here, but Anisha, we also need to understand one thing, that a change takes time, right? The incident that you're talking about, I did mention, because it's hurt me so much when that character, they changed the word pride to a bride. But again, as a teacher, so I'm teaching, it's been more than 10 years now, and when I look at my students, I call them the next generation, or the young generation of this country. I feel very hopeful. They are well aware. They have always been my support system every time. They're more receptive, and I think there is a better tomorrow, and they are not very conditioned. They are okay. In fact, my wedding also, there are a lot of kids were there. My cousins' kids, and they never differentiate. Oh, it's where is the bride or where is the groom? They're pretty cool about it. They're like, okay, my uncle is getting married to Abhay uncle, and that's okay for them. So when I look at them, but the next generation, I feel hopeful. I think there is definitely a better tomorrow.
So let's talk about how you've mentioned the case and its aftermath, the way you've spoken about the heartbreak and the hope and the post-verdict fight that is still going on. Can you take us through what you are still talking about, what people in this country are still fighting about?
Yes, I mean, as I said, I mean, very loud and clear that we were disappointed. We didn't expect that we just need to leave the courtroom empty-handed. We were very, very hopeful. I still remember the day that we are holding each other's hand because there's a lot of people. We are very, very hopeful. It was a wonderful journey. But when the judgment came and we're like, kuch nahi mila. And so that was that moment. And we really didn't know that how to react to it. Of course, we came back. We take a little time. I still remember, like, we came back home, and for next 3 to 4 days, we didn't work. We couldn't go to the work. We were just sleeping. You know, our body, our mind, processing the whole thing for last couple of months journey. But as I said, that we grow as a human. We also learn that things will not happen overnight. We cannot leave the fight. Not a single country in this world got LGBTQ rights without a good fight. So, of course, we need to show up, because showing up is also very, very important. We need to keep sharing stories, and that's how the Surviving Loudly is here today. We need to keep talking about it. And I think the change is already happening, slowly but very firm. I think people are more confident. People don't do much of hush-hush. People are aware the meaning of LGBTQ, and they don't say Supriyo is different, they say Supriyo is gay. And I think that is the biggest change which happened after this whole discussion for last 3 to 4 years. I am hopeful, because that one thing that I have learned from a lot of people from the community, that that is our biggest weapon, that we need to be hopeful and we need to keep moving forward, because there is a better tomorrow.
Also, you've talked about the debate in the larger community when it came to the aftermath of the case. As you mentioned, there are matters going on in different high courts now. You've also written about how some people had questioned why this kind of case was filed in the first place. Can you take us through that journey a little bit? Because you've mentioned this, you've talked about how other people in the queer community have responded.
Well, I have a very mixed feeling about it, because, see, we live in a bubble. We have a set of people in our life, from the community, not from the community, so they are always been our cheerleaders. So now it is very difficult, because anything that you do because in this country, people are extremely opinionated, and that's how it is. That is called democracy, because everybody has their own opinion about things. So, of course, I heard a few things which are very, very positive. Of course, there are going to be few people, they are not as supportive as others, from the community, not from the community. But the point is, you cannot just take everybody's permission, because there is not a such system exists in our country. But yeah, I mean, we know the intention is correct. The major set of people, they understood the fight. They're happy, they're proud. And I think that's okay, because when you do something, it's not about the queer community, it's about any community. It could be religious community, it could be the different caste, creed and everything. There are going to be few people, they would not be as happy as your people are, and that's fine, that's absolutely fine.
Right. So one thing I do want to highlight as we come to a close to this interview is the beautiful dedication that you've put in your book. To those still fighting, you're not done. We're louder than silence and braver than shame. That really touched me, really. Just to sum up this entire discussion that we've had, what do you hope for the people who read your book?
One thing that I have learned from my life, which is one of the most powerful tool, is sharing your story, right? So, so for my dedication, I wanted to actually tell people that it's okay, you no need to, there is no timeline, you just try to be authentic to yourself.
Right.
There is no reason that you have to rush or you have to compare yourself with somebody. And most importantly, of course, we have our cheerleaders, and there is somebody in your life who will say that I can see you. So just be hopeful, share your story and live your life.
So we've been talking about Surviving Loudly by Supriyo Chakraborty. This book is talking about being brave, standing your ground, surviving really in a space that doesn't let you show your identity, about growing up, growing outside of the bubble and living a life. I hope it resonates with other people the way it has with me. Thank you for watching Booked by India Today.